He was called the King of Pop, a musical genius. But behind the bright stage lights and the immortal dance, there were secrets, silence, and shadows. Michael Joseph Jackson was born in 1958 in Gary, a typical town in the heart of Mississippi. From a very young age, his destiny seemed set to be something extraordinary. His eyes sparkled, his voice enchanted, and his talent knew no bounds. But there was something few people saw. Michael's childhood was not like that of other children. While boys his age ran through the streets, played hide and seek, and slowly discovered the world, Michael was trapped in a world of endless rehearsals and strict rules imposed by his father, Joseph Jackson. Early fame was both a blessing and a prison. "Sometimes I cried alone at night," Michael shared in his autobiography Moonwalk. "I felt lonely even when there were thousands of people around me. It was as if the child inside him was suffocating while the public figure shone on stage with rehearsed perfection." The pursuit of perfection didn't come only from outside. Michael desperately wanted to reclaim the childhood he never had. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey, he confessed his simple, almost impossible wish: "I wanted to ride a bike, play ball, just be a normal kid." But time showed no mercy, and the boy who grew up in the spotlight soon realized that real life bore no resemblance to his dreams. The pressures, isolation, and fear of not meeting expectations shaped his personality, creating layers the outside world never saw. Thus, the story of the boy who never grew up begins with that lost childhood, an unparalleled talent hiding a soul that, deep down, was still searching to be free. Michael Jackson didn't just want a house. He wanted a refuge, a place where time stood still, where the responsibilities of adulthood couldn't reach him. He called it Neverland. Inspired by the world of Peter Pan, Michael bought a ranch in the California countryside and transformed it into a dreamland. There was a Ferris wheel, a carousel, a miniature train, a private movie theater, and even a zoo. It was more than a property, it was his childhood reinvented. A place where he could finally be the child he was never allowed to be. "Neverland is a place where I can be free," Michael once said. "There are no rules here. Only joy." And that's what he was searching for: joy, lightness, fantasy. But over time, what looked like a fairy tale began to stir unease. The ranch didn't just welcome celebrities or family. It was common to see children and teenagers walking through the gardens, riding the attractions, or sleeping in the goose houses. Some came with their parents. Others did not. In the 2003 documentary Living with Michael Jackson, journalist Martin Bashir questioned Michael about his relationships with these young visitors. Michael responded with unsettling ease: "What could be more pure than sharing a bed with a child? Why do people see that as wrong? The world has lost its innocence." The statement sent shockwaves around the world. To some, it was a misunderstood gesture of innocence. To others, a troubling sign of something darker behind good intentions. Despite the questions and suspicious glances, Michael insisted that Neverland was simply an attempt to heal his own pain. "No matter how much money I have, I can't buy back the time I lost," he said in an interview. "So I created a place where time doesn't exist." But like any magical place, Neverland held its secrets. While it offered shelter, it also hid contradictions. It was a place where Michael sought protection from the world, but also where the world began to question him. And so, the paradise he built with so much love became the center of controversy. Neverland, more than just a physical space, became a symbol of his desperate attempt to escape reality, and perhaps the beginning of his downfall. The world already knew Michael Jackson as a phenomenon, someone who defied the rules of music, dance, and even his own image. But in 1993, Michael's name began appearing not just on radios and stages, but in courtrooms and tabloid headlines. And for the first time, admiration came with discomfort. That year, Jordan Chandler, a 13-year-old boy, made an accusation that would forever change Michael's life. The news spread like wildfire. The most famous pop star in the world was being investigated for child sexual abuse. Narrator. The shock was immediate. Michael firmly denied everything, visibly shaken. And his fans, millions across the globe, didn't know what to believe. It was like watching a pop god suddenly humanized and surrounded by doubt. In the middle of a media firestorm, the case was closed through an out-of-court settlement. Michael paid the Chandler family over $20 million without admitting guilt. The decision divided public opinion. To some, the payout was an admission of guilt. To others, it was an attempt to protect his emotional health and career from total destruction. "I am innocent," Michael said in a televised public statement. "I would never harm a child. Never." He added, "The pain I'm feeling is beyond anything words can express." But the shadow of that accusation never left him. Years later, in 2005, a new allegation surfaced, this time from Gavin Arvizo, a teenager with cancer whom Michael had welcomed into Neverland. The case went to trial, lasted for months, and was broadcast like a global spectacle. Witnesses came and went, stories conflicted, and the world watched as if tuning into a tragic reality show. In the end, the verdict was clear: not guilty on all 14 counts. Narrator. Michael walked out of the courtroom a free man, but not unscathed. What had been suggested could no longer be unsaid. Doubt had entered the public imagination, and it would never fully go away. Even with the acquittal, Michael Jackson's aura was never quite the same. From that moment on, his brilliance came with a shadow at his heels. Some still called him a genius, others now looked at him with suspicion. The truth, or what could be called truth, felt increasingly out of reach.
Some stories don't need monsters to scare us. Sometimes, all it takes is a face that changes. A mirror that no longer reflects what it once did. A man who slowly, gradually becomes something else, until no one really knows who he is anymore.
Michael Jackson was no longer the same. Over the years, the idol's transformation became too visible to ignore. His once dark skin gradually grew lighter. His nose seemed to change shape with every appearance. The features of the boy from Gary, Indiana slowly vanished, as if erased by an invisible hand. The whole world watched, in silence or with cruel jokes, the most talked about physical transformation in pop culture history. But what was behind it? Michael said he had vitiligo, an autoimmune condition that causes skin depigmentation. In interviews, he showed visible blotches on his arms and chest. He wore heavy makeup to even out his skin tone, makeup that, according to him, made him feel less watched. "I'm not trying to be white," he told Oprah Winfrey in a 1993 interview. "I'm proud to be black. But this disease is out of my control." Still, many didn't believe him. Some claimed he was trying to erase his origins. Others suspected something deeper, perhaps a denial of self or an unresolved childhood trauma. As for plastic surgery, Michael insisted he had only a few procedures. 2, maybe 3 on my nose, he claimed. But experts who analyzed his photos and videos over the years estimated he had undergone more than 10 surgeries, some so drastic they appeared to compromise the very structure of his face. Narrator. What drives someone to change so much? Was he simply running from a pain that had haunted him since childhood? Or was there something darker buried beneath each layer of makeup and scalpel? As time passed, Michael became increasingly shrouded in mystery. He began wearing masks in public, single gloves, wide-brimmed hats. He avoided eye contact, carried umbrellas on cloudless days. To fans it was style. To critics, paranoia. Rumors swirled that he slept in a hyperbaric chamber to slow aging. A photo of him inside one surfaced in the 80s, but Michael later claimed it was just a publicity stunt the media turned into myth. Another rumor said he tried to buy the bones of the Elephant Man. Michael denied it, but not entirely. "I identify with him," he once said. People judged him by how he looked. They never really heard him. Narrator. Was that Michael's greatest fear? To be seen, but never truly understood. In his personal life, isolation grew. Close confidants drifted away. Family members said they lost access to him. Many claimed Michael lived a reclusive life, sleeping during the day, awake at night, surrounded by doctors, bodyguards, and silence. In Living with Michael Jackson, 2003, journalist Martin Bashir visited Neverland, guided through its gardens and hallways by Michael himself. What began as an interview became something stranger, an intimate and unsettling portrait of a man who no longer seemed to know where the dream ended and reality began. There's one moment, almost disturbing, when Bashir asks if Michael sees himself as a father figure. Michael answers yes and says he sees nothing wrong with sharing his bed with children. "The bed is a place of love," he says almost innocently. The statement is shocking. Michael's expression doesn't seem sinister, but it also doesn't seem naive. It's as if he lived in his own logic, detached from the world, where the lines between right and wrong were no longer clear. Narrator. Michael built his own universe, but the cost was high. The more he tried to escape, the more trapped he became. Like a prisoner of himself, wandering down mirrored hallways, each one reflecting a different version of who he was. Over time, the rumors grew stranger. Some said he refused to eat in front of others, that he communicated with notes, that he talked to mirrors like they were old friends. Then came the nickname, Wacko Jacko, a cruel label invented by the media which Michael despised with all his heart. "I'm a human being. I'm not a freak," he said with a trembling voice. "Why do they call me that?" What did I do to deserve it? No one really knew. What's certain is that Michael's face, both his literal and symbolic masks, became part of the myth. He was no longer just an artist. He had become an enigma, a tragic figure, untouchable. A man trapped between realities.
Have you ever wondered what happens when someone erases their own identity to become what the world expects? Or when no one can recognize the man behind the myth anymore?
When Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, the world came to a halt. Millions of people felt as if a piece of their own childhood, their own music, had vanished. But the question that lingered in the air was this: who was the real Michael Jackson after all? The king of pop left behind an undeniable legacy. Songs that marked generations, music videos that redefined the art form, dances that became icons, and a style that influenced artists across the globe. Yet this legacy is surrounded by a labyrinth, a tangled web of doubts, secrets, and controversies that still divide opinions. For many, Michael was a misunderstood genius, a victim of his own success and the crushing weight of fame. For others, he remains a dark enigma, carrying stories that may never be fully uncovered. In interviews after his death, friends, family, and collaborators painted a picture of a complex man, kind and loving but also lonely and tormented. He always wanted to be loved, one said, but he never knew how to show it without fear. The music world continues to honor Michael's unique talent. But the accusations and mysteries that followed him also echo on, like voices refusing to be silenced. The documentary Leaving Neverland, released years later, reignited fierce debates, bringing forward accounts that shocked fans and critics alike once again. It's impossible to completely separate the artist from the man. And maybe we shouldn't try. Because within that duality lies the essence of humanity, full of light and shadow, mistakes and dreams. Many ask, was Michael's search for a lost childhood, for acceptance, for perfection, what led him into this maze of doubt? Or did he lose himself somewhere along the way, caught between his own desires and the heavy expectations of the world? Today, years after his passing, the name Michael Jackson still sparks heated debates, but it also inspires new artists, transforms lives, and keeps a flame alive that won't be extinguished. In the end, maybe the greatest truth about Michael Jackson is this: above all, he was a man trying to be eternal. And in his effort not to disappear, he left behind a mirror, filled with reflections that each of us must decide what we see.